Which area is better, Farragut area or Bearden area? In this video, we are going to settle it once and for all. Not really, but we are going to compare and contrast. I'm going to give you some insights. I'm going to give you some data. So let's dive in and get started. All right, so how did I compile this data? I know that's what you're thinking already. Okay, so Farragut versus Bearden, we are looking at properties zoned for Farragut High School and properties zoned for Bearden High School. So that's where this data is pulled from, because that is the best way to ground it. Because if I do it by zip codes don't necessarily work, because some zip codes are zoned for multiple different high schools. And so, and some 37934 is specifically Farragut, but it also has a second zip code that overlaps into the Bearden area. So we did it based on school zoning, because I feel like that was the best way to narrow down what we're talking about when I say Farragut versus Bearden. So, and it's going to make sense as well when I start talking about the elementary schools, because that, if nothing else, if you're like, well, what is Farragut and what is the Bearden area? If you look at the feeder schools, it actually gives you a really good picture of overall size and location of the two different areas. So as a general rule, Bearden is closer into town, aka closer into downtown. Farragut is as far southwest as you can get from downtown Knoxville. So if we were to look at Pellissippi Parkway, which runs north to south, and if we were to look at Kingston Pike and I-40, which kind of run parallel through town, they run east to west. Essentially, Farragut is the pocket that is southwest of Pellissippi, whereas Bearden is going to be east of Pellissippi. Okay, so just in general, and I know I'm backwards, I actually used to teach body combat, and so we would use, I would start with my, left hand, and then the people in the crowd would be, mirroring me, but I feel like this is flipped, and I should be doing the opposite direction, but when I start talking about east and west, you know what I'm saying. Look at the map, Pellissippi Parkway, I-40, you have Farragut over here, if I think about it backwards, and you have Bearden area over here. Part of Bearden is also above I-40. So anyways, all of that to say, Bearden, closer into town, Farragut, further west. Both technically would be considered West Knoxville. Now, new school Knoxville people do not consider Bearden area west. However, people from here, growing up here, Bearden is West Knox. It's west of downtown. It's got West Knox amenities. It's West Knoxville. It's more central, I guess you could say, but I wouldn't even call it central, because there's just own Central Avenue. Anyways, they're both West Knoxville. Okay. They're both basically past Paper Mill, and Paper Mill to me is kind of the cutoff exit on I-40. If you look at a map and you go put Paper Mill and I-40 into the map, both of these are west of Paper Mill. Okay, so zip codes. Well, first of all, both are in Knox County. Both Farragut and Bearden are within Knox County. So let's just clear that up right now. Both of them are part of the Knox metro community. Parts of Bearden High, parts of the Bearden area have county and city taxes. Almost all, and I'm going to give you the data in a bit, almost all of Farragut only pays county taxes. And I'm going to give you some stats on that in a second. Okay, so zip codes for Farragut, as I said, 37934. Farragut only, 37922. 37922 has overlap between these communities, and 37922 spreads across both sides of I-40. So again, Pellissippi. So again, the idea that Pellissippi is kind of your split between Farragut to Bearden areas. If you think about it that way, then you know that 37922 sprawls across Pellissippi east and west, which makes sense that part of it's Farragut and part of it is Bearden area. Okay, so feeder patterns for middle schools. And again, middle and elementary schools, the reason why I'm including this is to let you know, if you were to kind of go look at a map and you were to map where these elementary schools are, it's gonna make more sense. So feeder patterns for middle schools, for Farragut High School, Farragut Middle feeds into Farragut High School, and they're literally on the same campus, like right next to each other. Hello, morning traffic, and afternoon bus traffic, whatever, you know what I'm saying. Okay, so Farragut Middle and West Valley Middle are feeder schools. So those students are zoned for Farragut High School. Farragut Middle is exclusively zoned, as of the making of this video, for Farragut High School. West Valley Middle, however, is zoned for more than one school, and one of those that it's zoned for is Bearden High School. Why does that make sense? Well, West Valley sits very close to Pellissippi, so it's serving students from kind of either side of that like Pellissippi east-west situation, and the further west, those are Farragut Middle kiddos. So, but West Valley feeds both Farragut, which it's this direction. I'll talk too much with my hands. West Valley feeds both Farragut High School and Bearden, so just think that it's in both communities, but students are like, you know, in different parts. So feeder middle schools for Bearden High School are Bearden Middle, Cedar Bluff Middle, and West Valley. And so again, if you map them, you can kind of get an idea of like, those kind of hover around-ish. Those are all west, actually, of Bearden High School, but they hover around Bearden High. Okay, so feeder pattern elementary schools. A.L. Lots feeds into both. Farragut Primary, Farragut Intermediate. Interestingly, Farragut Primary, Farragut Intermediate, those are our only ones like that, where it's like a primary intermediate situation. And they're talking about a new elementary school now as well in that area. So anyways, TBD. Feeder elementaries. A.L. Lots, Farragut Primary, Farragut Intermediate, and North Shore. Overlap between those are A.L. Lots and North Shore elementaries. So Bearden is A.L. Lots, Bluegrass, Cedar Bluff, North Shore, Rocky Hill, and West Hills. Again, if you go look at a map and you're like, I don't understand the difference between Farragut and Bearden, and you plot where these elementary schools are, you're gonna see exactly the difference. It should be really obvious. Okay, let's get into some market stats. So overall, who's more expensive? Overall, Farragut, more expensive. Average sold price, and I pulled like the month of October for 2023 because at the making of this video, it's January. I didn't want to use November and December for holiday reasons. And so in January, So I went to October just to give us a simple snapshot of what's going on. So October 2023, and this is not to inform specifically about current pricing. It's more to inform the comparison of the two communities, okay? So that being said, average close price in Farragut, $741,000, whereas the Bearden area average close price is $531,000. That is a huge difference. However, both communities, the sell price to list price ratio is 0.99. So almost everything is selling at list price in both of these areas. Who's on market longer? Bearden area, the average days on market for closed properties was 27. And in Farragut, the average days on market for closed properties was 23. So 4 days, which you're like, that's not that much. That's not that long. But if you think about it, it's the difference between like a Monday and Friday. So it's kind of, whatever. Not a huge difference though. Yeah, so the other thing that I thought was interesting is I was curious, like, are any of these areas having expired listings, like listings that aren't turning over? So for the month of October, Farragut, 4 expired listings. One of those was only listed for 1 day, so really 3, okay? Because if you list it for 1 day and it expires, that is called, we accidentally put the wrong dates in when we enter the data. you know, we put it in the MLS, we put the wrong dates probably. So that being said, 3 expireds, and then in Bearden, no expireds. So that's not, I would want to track that month over month and see like what's actually happening, but that would indicate that there's more, like properties are selling in the Bearden area. But I mean, even still, you know, 3 expireds over the course of a month is not crazy. Okay, and then as far as overall units, so Farragut for the month of October had a total, so when I say units, I mean all transactions all together. So that's sold, listed, pending, everything, like all of it. 128 in Farragut and then 126 in Bearden. So very similar. The main difference that I'm seeing is the price. $741 Farragut, $531 in Bearden area. So certainly a price difference. And actually, there is going to be, Bearden is a lot more diverse in price points. And probably if I were to look at the data at a middle school level, we're going to see that certain, like those price points are going to vary much more drastically across the areas zoned for Bearden High feeder middle schools versus Farragut High School feeder schools. Because those areas, so Cedar Bluff, Bearden, and the West Valley, those are feeding drastically different areas. I don't know another way to say it without sounding a certain way, but so anyways, there is that average close price is a strong average in the sense that like those prices are going to be the price variance is going to be much larger than what Farragut has. So anyways, there we go on that. Okay, now what about housing itself? How do they compare? So I took a snapshot of right now today of the making of this video to compare like what are the listings like, what's the activity, what can you expect out of properties in these 2 areas? Is anything like majorly better in one over the other? Okay, so as of the making of this video right now today, there's 907 active listings in Knox County, okay? If I dwindle that to Farragut only, and remember the way I did that again is I specified homes zoned for Farragut High School, we have 71 listings. So that's 8% of total listings in Knox County. Interestingly, Bearden is also 8% with 73. So same amount of like market share, you could say. Now, county taxes. 2 total homes in the Farragut area pay city and county taxes, which accounts for 3% of Farragut area listings, while Bearden, 15 of those properties currently for sale are showing that they are both city and county taxes, which is about 21%. So if you're wanting like county only taxes, then you're gonna choose Farragut. Like for some people, this is an absolute deal breaker. Then you may not even consider like the Bearden area. However, it's 21%. It's not 50%. It's not 75%. It is 21%, and those properties are gonna be closer in to town. So I wouldn't rule out Bearden just based on the stat that 21% have pay both city and county taxes. And then also keep in mind, like you're getting trash service for that. You know what I mean? So it's not as if, oh my God, whatever. So yeah, not a huge, I wouldn't just say, okay, well, everywhere in Bearden has both taxes. It doesn't, only 21% from this snapshot. Okay, public water. 100% of properties in the Bearden area have both public water and public sewer. 100% in both categories. In the Farragut area, 97% public water, 93% public sewer. If they don't have public sewer, what does that mean? It means they have septic tank. If they don't have public water, I'm shocked that it's basically saying that 2 homes are on well water, essentially, in Farragut. That seems not right, but that's what it says. So anyways, more properties in Bearden, public water, public sewer, and nearly all properties in Farragut, public water, public sewer. What about natural gas? 89% of Farragut listings, natural gas, and 80% in Bearden have natural gas. I would have thought those would have been flopped, but that's also, I think a part of that is because you do have more older properties and older houses in the Bearden area, like closer into town, whereas a lot of what you're seeing in Farragut is much newer real estate, and it has been a thing that those have gas. Okay, who has bigger yards? Well, I did this based on what percentage of homes listed for sale have over half an acre of property. So in Farragut, over half an acre of property was 21 listings, or that's 30% of current listings have half an acre or more of land, while 12% of those in Bearden have half an acre or more. And this makes sense because, again, Bearden is closer into town, like more houses, basically, like closer in, smaller yards, whatever. And then also land that's remaining in those areas. Like if you go look at new construction, and both of them, they're both going to be primarily teeny tiny yards, just like with most new construction. But people that are building in Farragut area now are putting like 5 houses on 0.1 acres, not literally, because that's not even possible, okay, unless it's a dollhouse or like a mini whatever. You know what I'm saying. Larger yards in Farragut, 30% with half an acre or more, only 12% in Bearden. Okay, HOAs of any kind. So this could be voluntary or mandatory. In Farragut, 83% have an HOA, while in Bearden, 73%. So you're probably gonna have an HOA. Or voluntary. When it says voluntary, that's like you could opt into the pool ownership, you know? Restrictions, 94% in Farragut have restrictions. How is that different from an HOA? So a restriction is goes above and beyond what the community mandates. This could be a deed restriction. This could be Farragut restriction, like a city or basically an ordinance of like their code for the Farragut municipality. And this could also be, like I said, a deed. So restrictions wise, 94% have some sort of restriction in Farragut, whereas in West Hills, it says 78% with a restriction. So more restricted than HOAs, but overall, you're probably gonna have some sort of rules you gotta go by, okay? Waterfront, I thought this would be higher, but then I also think part of it's because I did what's active, and waterfront property is hard to come by. Maybe that's not the word. Waterfront property is competitive and it is pricey. I mean, you're paying for waterfront, and then if it's waterfront in one of these areas, it's going to be riverfront, Fort Loudoun, think year-round water. So it's like prime real estate, right? So waterfront, 4% in Farragut and 6% in the Bearden area. So that's interesting. All right, mountain views, both Farragut 13%, Bearden has 12%. And how is that? How do I know that? Or how do people determine that? Essentially, when an agent goes in and puts a listing in, we have a button that says like mountain view, seasonal mountain view. So I did both mountain view and seasonal mountain view. Now these are self-reported, AKA not confirmed, AKA if a house has a window in the attic that you can look out and see the mountains, that's a mountain view. Okay, so take these stats with a grain of salt. 13% in Farragut, 12% in Bearden with mountain views. Who has more level properties? Actually, about 50% of both areas are listed as level, like they have a level lot. 47% Farragut, 51% Bearden. The last kind of rapid fire stats. 2010 built or newer they're both about the same, about 40%. So that are 2010 or newer. I would have actually thought that Farragut would have more new construction homes are newer than 2010, but they don't. 31% for both. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, now let's get into my this versus that. Farragut versus Bearden. Farragut has Concord Park, has Concord Marina, has McPhee Park, has great parks. Bearden has Lakeshore Park and like the West Hills walkway and Greenway. So both of them kind of have a lot to offer in terms of like parks, etc., places to go outside. I mean, Lakeshore to me like trumps all of this. So if you don't know Lakeshore Park, you got to go check it out. But to me, like that is the like holy grail of parks. So it wins, like Bearden wins from that perspective. But I know some people that love McPhee Park and they would actually tell me I'm a loser for my opinion. So just my thoughts. Why is Lakeshore awesome? Well, it's a huge giant loop. They've got ball fields, they've got awesome playgrounds. If you are a runner or you're working out and walking outside, they have legitimate public bathrooms. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. If you've had to use a bathroom while you're on a long run, okay. It's like it looks over the water. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And if you want to do hill sprints, you can do it there. We used to do that in high school, and you thought you were gonna do it. Okay, next up, quaint areas. Farragut has Chodo. It's like a newer little section of Farragut. And then Bearden has an area called Bearden Hill. And I just think it's great. You've also got West Hills. That's more of like one feels, I mean, they're both kind of boutique-y, but Chodo is like way newer. Whereas Bearden Hill and West Hills are just like a more established area. But both kind of have cool areas, cool stuff to go check out. Okay. This to me is like, okay, I understand these areas. Farragut has a Costco and Bearden has a Trader Joe's. Done. Video over. Do you need a Costco or do you need a Trader Joe's? Or do you need both? You gotta decide for yourself. But I think that the fact that Costco is in Farragut, I mean, that's like a giant bougie superstore, right? Whereas Trader Joe's is like a boutique-y, bougie grocery store, you know? So I think it just tells you, like, to me, I feel like Trader Joe's is more, I don't even know the words, and I don't want to offend someone, but that's not the point. Costco, Farragut, Trader Joe's, Bearden. Okay, Turkey Creek versus more boutique type shopping. So kind of to my point earlier, Bearden has like very boutique furniture stores, food. Yes, there are some chain restaurants, but there's also like little quaint like brewery. There's Abridged. I mean, there's just like little more quaint like restaurant type things. So it feels to me more like a smaller vibe versus Turkey Creek includes Super Target, Super Walmart, chain restaurants like Calhoun's, Smoky Mountain Brewery. You've got Chipotle, like you've got all this stuff, okay? And like the Bearden area has those things, but Farragut to me just feels like more corporate. Maybe that's what it is. It feels more corporate than the Bearden area. And then if we talk about neighborhoods, like Bearden has the quintessential Knoxville neighborhoods, the real estate where Chip and Joanna Gaines would be like, we want to get the best house or the worst house in the best neighborhood, right? So that would be like West Hills, Dean Hill, Rocky Hill. But then you've got some high dollar real estate like Whittington Creek, North Shore Town Center. Like those are luxury, newer properties. So You know, and then you've also got like some 1970s, 1980s neighborhoods, Gulf Park, Gulfwood, that are great, but they are basement ranchers or split foyers that are, you know, they're just not as new. Whereas Farragut, yes, you do have some quintessential neighborhoods, like Village Green is like a Farragut quintessential old school neighborhood, Village Green. But then you also have waterfront properties and neighborhoods like River Sound, which is a very established neighborhood with homes that are older, but also some of them have deeded boat docks. There's like a whole little marina situation there, like water frontage. You've got Montgomery Cove, and that's super luxury. And then Copperstone, which is like a newer neighborhood, luxury, not on the water. So again, to me, Farragut is a little bit more corporate than like the Bearden area. So think of someone that's looking for 4,000 square feet new construction, Farragut, or 4,000 square feet basement rancher built in the 1970s that's been completely renovated and updated. This is the difference. Primarily, mostly like Village Green, you get a little bit of what I just said over here, but for the most part, you're thinking newer, more updated, etc. in Farragut versus West Hills is more like old brought into new, basically. Okay, golf courses. If you're a golfer, did want to make this mention. Fox Den, which is another like very quintessential Farragut neighborhood, or Gettysview. So Farragut has Fox Den and Bearden has Gettysview. So Gettysview is extremely hilly and Fox Den is not as hilly. Both of them are great golf courses and great neighborhoods at the same time. So, I mean, I personally have a preference for Bearden, the Bearden area. I love Rocky Hill. I love Bluegrass. Like I love all those little pockets. But I also love the convenience of everything that Farragut offers. So anyways, that being said, that is your Farragut versus Bearden comparison. We will not get into who's better at sports when it comes to the high school level, who has a better mascot, because this is not about the high schools, but I do just want to say Farragut is an admiral, like who they're named after, Admiral Farragut, makes sense, right? And it's Bearden Bulldogs. So Farragut's definitely more original, meaningful. Bulldogs, I don't know where that came from, but it also reminds me of Georgia. No, thank you. But I used to teach at Bearden High School, so don't tell anyone I said this. Anyways, okay, well, there is your Bearden versus Farragut comparison. Again, we were talking specifically about the areas. Takeaways: Farragut a bit higher price point. Bearden a bit more diversity in overall real estate. Both pretty active, moving pretty quickly, 23 and 27 days on market. And then both have pros and cons. Both have like access to a lot of things. Bearden closer to downtown, Farragut the Costco. I mean, that being said, I hope this has been helpful. Let me know your thoughts and questions. I'm Haley Jones. As always, if you would like more content like this, let me know. Click the subscribe button. And I will see you next time.